our files. I almost said I'm Lizzie. No, I'm Liza.
And I'm Lizzie, and today we are having another guest episode, and it's a little different than normal. It's not your typical kind of guest, but we are so excited. It is Miss Sarah Reynolds. We have worked with her on so many different weddings and projects, and we're just excited to pick your brain. So, Mom, take it away.
The super famous. You forgot to say the super famous.
Yeah.
All day long we've been geeking back and forth and being like, she's going to come talk to us tonight.
Well, you guys are a bunch of liars, but thank you.
So I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself.
Sure. So obviously I'm Sarah. I am an Eastern Shore wedding planner. I specialize obviously here on the Eastern Shore of Maryland with all of the tented events and any sort of waterside events. I do go to Annapolis every so often, but mostly just stick here on the shore. And I've been in business for about 10 years at this point.
Oh my God, no, you haven't been. You're not that old.
Yeah.
Did you start when you were 12?
Well, I appreciate that. But no, I actually started right after my husband and I got married, and we are about to have our 10-year anniversary. So,
oh, congratulations. That's
thank
cool.
you.
How did you get started?
So sort of condensed version of everything. I moved down to the DC area after my husband and I have been dating long distance. I served in the military. So after I graduated from college, I actually went on a deployment. And the whole time I was there, my officers were like, "What are you doing afterwards? Now you have your degree." And I'm like, "I don't know." And one of them said, "Oh, I have, family that lives in the DC area. Do you want me to help you get a job?" And like I said, at the time, my husband and I were long distance. So I was like, let's take the plunge. Let's move down here. Let's see what's going to happen with this relationship and this job and everything else. So started working for the Department of Veterans Affairs, eventually weaseled my way into the events department for the organization under the VA that I was working for. Loved that job. I was traveling all over the country, and I was doing large-scale training conferences. So we were in New Orleans and Dallas and all of those kind of places, which was great. I loved it. And then the commute to DC was it was a killer. So I found two different other jobs locally, still within the events department. And then, like I said, we got married in 2014. And after our wedding, my wedding photographer said to me, "Your wedding was the most organized wedding I have ever shot. You should really consider doing this." And I was like, "No,
No, never.
See, I don't want to do this for a living. I love events, but like brides are like a whole other world that I just wasn't ready for."
It's scary.
It is, because you hear all the horror stories.
Yeah, you do. And sometimes now we're living them.
Yes. So what's it called? It was one of those things where it just so happened that somebody in my office was getting married. So I said to her, I was like, "Can I let you be my guinea pig? Like, see whether or not I want to do this for a living." I did it. I was hooked. And basically like the next day I went to Wix.com and made myself.
Yep. Good old Wix.
Yep. No idea what I was doing. I was just throwing it out there. And God bless my wedding photographer, who's like my best friend now. I showed it to her and she goes, "This is good. We're going to work on this. This is good."
She's like, "Practice makes perfect."
Pretty much. And it was just one of those things where it completely steamrolled into something I never expected it to be. And by 2017, I was able to take it full time, and I have not looked back since. So it's
awesome. That's such a testament to you, your organizational skills. And I mean, as florists, we get to work with so many different folks on so many different levels. Like we work on that like personal, small backyard, teeny tiny wedding all the way up to, I mean, we've done some really cool stuff. Yeah. And the fact that it doesn't matter what we ask or what people ask, you always have an answer. And the cool thing is you're never flustered.
Thank you.
Like I never see you sweat.
Oh, well, thank you.
Even if it's hot, I don't see you sweat. But anyway.
I will actually give testament to one of my former supervisors at the Department of Veterans Affairs. She kind of took me under her wing, and she always told me to constantly think of the tagline of "You are a duck. On the surface, you are calm as can be, and under the water, you are paddling like crazy, but nobody sees it. All they see is a smooth surface, and you're just gliding across the top. And so every time, especially on wedding days, I consistently keep myself saying, like, are you a duck right now? Or are you
Be a
showing
duck.
Yes.
So if I send you a rubber duck in the mail,
Be a duck.
Love that.
That's gonna be the so each time we do like a blog post for like an episode, there's always a quote that we use, and it's gonna be a duck. Find out what that means.
Oh man, I regret that. Can we take that off?
oh my gosh. Well, on the Eastern Shore now, of course, all of the people are going to be
Are
like,
you a
well,
mallard or are you wood duck?
exactly.
Are you this or are you a sea duck? What kind of duck?
Tail, a spoonie?
I think I have to do my husband justice and say that I'm a canvasback. I think that's
Ah, yep, okay.
Fancy.
Fancy.
Yeah.
So before I forget, the question that I want to ask, and I know it's not on the paper, what was your first guinea pig wedding like? Like, because 2014 was very different from what it is now.
Yes.
Even the Pinterest is very different.
Yes. I mean, I very strategically show the photos from my own wedding for that exact reason.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, let's see, I'm trying to think, gosh, this was so long ago. So yeah, it was 2014. It was at Swan Harbor Farm in Havre de Grace. So all up there. And it's like a permanent tent, like semi-permanent tent. Mm-hmm. It was definitely like a green and brown, no, black and white. God, I don't even remember. Oh my goodness. Well, the one thing I do, this is hilarious. The one thing I do remember about this wedding was, again, it's my first one. So I didn't know all the questions to ask, all the things that I should have sussed out beforehand or anything like that. And so I'm trying to like set up the ceremony or something like that. And this guy comes up to me and he's like, "Are you the coordinator?" And I said, "I am." And he goes, "I'm the bird man." And I go, "Beg your pardon? What does that mean? I'm the bird man."
You're like, what?
And he goes, "Oh, did no one tell you?" And I'm like, "No, what does this mean?" He's like, "Oh, this is a surprise to the bride and groom. The mother of the bride had hired a man to have, I think it was a hawk. The hawk flew the rings down the aisle to them, but the bride and groom didn't know about that. So therefore the mother of the bride never told me it. So this man just comes, I'm the bird man."
Oh my God. Have you had that happen another time?
Here that I'm a duck. I deal with the bird man. Like there's a theme.
I totally thought you were going to say, like, and he released the doves. Oh,
That's
no.
I thought that you were that, yeah.
He did release doves at the end. So, yes, he had a hawk that brought the rings down, and then they released doves at the end of the ceremony.
Oh, my God. Did the hawk eat the doves?
I don't think so. But
oh, my God.
That is definitely the one thing I remember from that wedding about, like, so it was one of those, again, learning experiences where then I was like, okay, so this is definitely going to be conversations and questions to ask further down the road. Not as specific of like, do you have a bird man? But I need to know all of your vendors that are coming to the wedding.
Yeah. Wow. So, wow, as a surprise to the bride and groom, mother of God, be still. Here comes the hawk. Like,
right. Wow. Yeah, my bride's face was like, what? Oh.
Oh my God. Well, God, what if he dropped them?
It was a whole thing. Like, I mean, he had it down to a science, but it was, while he's explaining this to me, like in my brain, I'm running through every possible scenario of like, are you actually taking the real rings or these like fake rings that I don't have to worry about? You know, like all of those sort of things. And that also instilled a rule that I have, that's anyone under the age of 18 does not touch rings. I constantly get the like, "Oh, well, can my 7-year-old ring bearer walk with them?" I'm like, "No,
he's gonna walk with a fake one."
Right. I'm like, he's gonna lose your $1,000 ring. I'm like, we're not doing that right now. No, thank you.
Hey guys, Lizzie here. I bet you didn't know this about me, but I am gluten-free, and one of the things that I struggle with is going to the grocery store and finding the foods that fit my dietary needs. What I have been doing for the past couple of months is ordering from Hungry Root. Now, Hungry Root is an online company where you can order groceries off of their website. It's full of produce, crackers, cookies, to muffins, to meats, and all the different types of snacks and things like that. They have made my life so much easier in the process of finding foods that fit my dietary needs. There are filters that you can adjust, such as non-GMO, dairy-free, gluten-free, paleo, different preferences and things like that. So what they have done for us, because they're such a generous company, the Hungry Root team has given us a 40% off discount code on your first box. So if you use the code FLOWER40, and that's capital FLOWER 40 at checkout, you will get 40% off your first box. I'm so excited to team up with these guys. They've made such an impact on my life in the morning and to my day-to-day life, and I hope you experience the exact same thing that I do. All of the information will be linked down below, including the link to where it should already be pre-applied to your cart when you hit the link and go to their website, and I will also add the code at the bottom for easy access in our show notes. I hope you guys have a wonderful day and enjoy your first box through Hungry Root. No, I'm hesitant to give it to the best man.
Yep.
In the best way.
Right. There's,
Wow.
I definitely have to do the whole like cross check right before we walk down the aisle. Like, do you have it? Because like, it's not that I don't trust you, but you're 7 beers deep at this point. Do you have
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. Amen. And do you know which pocket you put it in?
Right. Exactly.
Oh my God. Well, let's not make that a trend. Let's not make hawks a trend.
Yeah,
No.
it was definitely like it was big in that time period, but I haven't seen it since. So
No,
that is
we'll
definitely
leave that in 2014.
Exactly.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Okay, so as a wedding planner, you see the rise and fall of all of the trends. And I feel like you are
From
like
hawks to pampas grass.
to baby's breath.
Yeah.
I feel like you're the front line for us as vendors to
Mhm.
defend us from the crazy.
We try. It's
You know
not
what I mean? Like and I don't mean that as a negative, but like sometimes people want these things and they don't understand all of the steps and all of the pieces and all of the things that it takes to make the thing happen.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, I'm very big on if you tell me what your budget is, I'm going to design your wedding to that budget.
Yeah.
If we decide after the fact that like, hey, we need a little bit more wiggle room, or, you know, in reality, I can cut down in these areas and all this kind of stuff. But I constantly tell them that I'm like, it's not fair to you if I show you all of these things and like dangle a carrot in front of you. And then I say, just kidding, you can't afford it. You know, that's not fair, because it's the same thing like when you'll get these proposals and you're like, I can't fulfill any of this for less than $30,000.
Right.
Yeah.
And the bride's like, I have 4.
Yeah. All the time.
And I don't know about you, but when I first started, I felt so awkward talking about money and asking the questions of like, what's your budget? But now I don't know if it comes with confidence. I don't know if it comes with
Practice.
Yeah, I don't know, but now it's definitely I go through the whole thing. I listen to their vision and their dream and their story and all of this stuff. But then I'm like, okay, what's your budget? And you could want stick ceiling hanging installations and have a $2,000 budget. And girlfriend, I'm not hanging a hula hoop. You know what I mean? Like because there's different levels of how everything has to come together and it has to look right.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing too is everyone is so engrossed with Pinterest. And I can't tell you how many times I get these Pinterest boards or this Instagram inspiration. And I'm like, if we take that and multiply it by 20 tables that you're going to have for your, 150 person wedding.
Yeah.
No.
It's a lot.
That's where we come in to take apart what it is that they're actually looking for and try to get them as close to what the look was for their budgets.
How are you dealing with the AI stuff that is starting to pop up? The things that like are not possible.
I have not had any of those yet, or it's been enough that it may be like embedded within their Pinterest boards or Instagram saves or anything like that, but I'm able to kind of pluck it out to be like, I'm not touching that one, because I just know like that's not even an option we're going to talk about and we're going to present. Because don't get me wrong, there's plenty of brides that show me all of this stuff and I will tell them like, I'm going to suss out and give you what you can actually have. And 9 times out of 10, once they see it in a cohesive manner, with it matching with the invitations, flowing with the linens, going with the food, all of that kind of stuff, they're like, oh, okay, I'm not even missing the thing over here that I thought I wanted, because now that I see it painted out in a full picture, this makes sense. This is what I want. This is the overall vibe and feeling that I want for the wedding day.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And again, first line of defense.
I try to. And don't get me wrong, this is like, it is like you said, it's been a lot of years of having those frank conversations where I've had people on the phone and we hit it off great and they tell me their budget and I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like we are not a match because I can't give you what you're looking for the budget that you want to do it in. Or I've had plenty of times where I like them and I really want to try to make this work, but then I give them like a brief budget breakdown of like, hey, if you only want to spend this much, this is what you're going to be spending. Like to the point that I'm like, your dress budget is now $20. And that's unless you're going to Lulu's or something. You're not going to find that.
Right.
And I think once they kind of have that healthy dose of reality, they're like, okay, so either it's I can't work with a wedding planner anymore and I have to do this all on my own, or go back to the drawing board and instead of just our parents contributing, maybe we also need to contribute to our dream and what we want this day to be. It's such a personalized decision. And I tell everyone that I talk to, I can plan any wedding for any budget. It's a matter of aligning your expectations with your budget.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Budget is huge. It's huge. It's huge.
And nobody wants to
how, how do you handle, so there's many times where we're working with a bride and she has a planner, but the planner, how do I phrase this? So the bride reaches out to us, but then the planner reaches out to us and is like, well, the bride said this. How do you handle those moments? How do you have the conversation with the bride that's like, yo, chill, I got this? That's what I'm trying to say nicely.
I mean, overall, I feel like I've been incredibly fortunate that I haven't had too many brides that would step out of bounds with our relationship. They understand like, hey, I am taking this step on your behalf. You will be receiving correspondence or you'll be receiving something from me that's showing all of the pricing breakdown or whatever sort of information. Now, I tend to involve the vendors with the bride if there's a preference type of question that like clearly I can't answer and it's sort of a waste of time, for lack of a way of explaining it, to me asking you the question to then go back to them, then they have more questions based on the preference. So at that point, then I'm just going to bring all the parties together. Now, if I had a bride that was going around me and going to vendors or something like that, I don't know how I would address it. I think it would be, circling back to that conversation of, do you not like, is there a trust issue here? Like, why do you feel the need to sort of go and do your own thing? What can I do to make this a more mutually beneficial relationship or, something like that? Because like I said, I've been fortunate that hasn't really been the case with my bride.
That's awesome.
Because I feel like I'm very transparent of like, here we are on the steps. Here's what I'm working on. Here's what I need from you. And I think a lot of it too is sometimes brides feel like they should be doing something and that like, if their hands aren't moving, that they're not doing something that's, productive. And so I tend to like, just give them small little tasks. I'm like, here, work on this because it keeps, and this sounds bad. It sounds like I'm like mothering them, but it is. It's like, I got to have your mind over here because I need to be doing the heavy lifting over here before we can come back together and have a true conversation.
Yeah. Well, that's your job. And I think sometimes people don't understand the difference. And this is one of the things I wanted you to speak of is sometimes people are just like, I want a day of coordinator. And then there's other people who want like a full coordinator. Where do you see the line in the difference for the day of versus, and from our experience, I feel like sometimes some of those day of coordinators are very like, well, I think we're going to unpack this and do this. And I feel really bad for day of people because, here's my box of stuff, put my vision together. I don't know how many hours you've had working together. You talk.
Yeah. So I will say this, everything that you said is true. And I am at the point now where I'm actually in the middle of a rebrand. And once that website gets launched, coordination is going off as an option altogether. I personally hate it because you end up doing more work than if it's a full planning client because you are trying to, they've hodgepodge this whole thing together and then just expect you to sew it up at the end and make it their entire dream day. And don't get me wrong, I've had absolutely gorgeous weddings that I was only hired for coordination. They had fantastic vendors on board and everything was wonderful. I've also had absolute nightmare weddings where I was the coordination. It was a coordination client for me. So it comes down to vendor team is incredibly important. And I have no control over that. as the coordinator versus the planner. And what I constantly say to my clients who are only looking for coordination is, how much time and money and energy do you have to invest in this wedding? Because that is, it's going to be your full-time job from now until the wedding day. Do you want to enjoy the process, or do you want to be, because I think there's also a bad connotation that planners just like push you out of the way and like plan your day and you have no input or anything like that. And I constantly tell them that I say, this is a collaborative process. If you tell me I don't like X, Y, and Z, I'm going to go get you A, B, C. And there's going to be that constant back and forth. I'm not going to be like, no, you can only work with this one vendor because I have a relationship with them, like one of those sort of things. I'm constantly looking to see who's going to pair best with you, personality wise, budget wise, design wise, all of the reasons, and get you the best vendor team on board as possible. So I think the biggest difference is obviously coordination. You're sewing everything up at the end, and not necessarily in a good way, because there's been plenty of times where I start looking over contracts and I'm like, is this contract even legal? Like,
Wow.
yes, there's definitely been clauses that I'm like, what? Why is that in there? I don't understand.
Wow.
And unfortunately, they're already contractually obligated to it, and I have no control over that. Versus if I was the planner and I looked at that contract, I would go back to said vendor and be like, I'm not comfortable with my client signing that. Let's get to a mutual ground of what's going to work on both of our ends to protect what you're trying to say here versus what my client's going to be comfortable with as well. So there's definitely a lot of, I'm working on their behalf legally and design wise and all of that kind of stuff. And then it's hard
experience.
Yes, it's experience. And I think the other thing too is I do the best I can when I'm going through my final checklist with this bride to say, like, basically pulling a year plus worth of planning out of their brains and putting it into mine so that I can execute everything that they're asking me to do. Versus my full planning clients or even my partial planning clients, because we've had this standing relationship and we're meeting on a monthly basis and we're going over everything, I can already anticipate as I'm going through it. I'm like, oh yeah, we discussed this. Like, this is what we have going on, blah, 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 blah. And it's a lot of just, you're taking so much pressure and angst off of the bride because you're a partner to them versus you're just another vendor if you're a coordinator, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're creating a friendship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I hope that my clients always constantly look back and be like, oh, she was the best thing that I ever hired.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to ask this because I would think out of everybody, you probably are the one who would see this. So people spend all of this time and vision and energy and all of these things really focusing on all of their florals and picking out the dresses and making sure the heels match and like all of the things. The night ends. What happens to the majority of the bridesmaids bouquets? What happens to the majority of the bridesmaid dresses that you see?
Or the boutonnieres.
Or the heels? Like what do you see?
Let's see. It depends. I would say vast majority of the time, the bridesmaids dresses or the bridesmaids bouquets are just left.
Yep. When I've gone back and cleaned up, I'm like,
I know.
I'm so sad about that.
Yeah. Even if we've like repurposed them and they've been beautiful throughout the entire night, I'll grab them, not like grab them, but like say to the girls as they're leaving, hey, do you want these? And they're like, no. Like, okay, cool.
All right then.
Yeah, exactly. And then bridesmaids dresses, obviously I don't know because thankfully everyone leaves clothed.
Yeah, very true.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about that. However, I can speak from my own personal experience. Every time that I have been a bridesmaid, I have left my bridesmaid's dress in the closet of the hotel that I was staying at.
Oh my God.
Every single one. I love my friends so much, but like, no, ma'am, I am not going to be wearing this purple silk bridesmaid's dress anywhere else. Like, stop. I'm not. Everyone knows that. I did it because I love you.
I think I really appreciate the trend of people saying, here's my colors, pick out a dress. That makes so much sense.
Yes.
But I definitely feel like the fluffy chiffon thing that, why are you doing, you like these people?
No. Oh gosh, no. I will say what I constantly focus on with my clients is what experience are we creating for your guests? Because that is what they're going to take home and what they're going to remember more so than what the flowers look like, what your invitations look like. And, they're going to be focused on the overall totality of the experience. Were you guys super sentimental in your ceremony vows? Did you rock it all night long on the dance floor? Did we incorporate some sort of fun tradition with grandma? All of that kind of stuff is what people are going to talk about. I mean, I know, obviously, I love my clients' weddings, but it's easy to revert back to my own wedding, especially because we're coming up on our anniversary. But I know, like, to this day, we will have friends and family who tell us that our wedding was so much fun. And it was the logistics outside of the wedding, even more so than what happened on the wedding day. So we got married in Gaithersburg, Maryland. And we did our hotel room block at Washingtonian Center, which has like 3 different hotels and a bunch of shops and restaurants and things like that. I'm sure it's like super built up by this point. But what my friends and family constantly talked about is what they loved is they pulled into the parking lot, they left their car there, and then they spent the entire weekend at the various hotels, restaurants, all that kind of stuff. And every place they went into was a familiar face because it was basically the majority of our wedding that was there. And so, like, the night of our rehearsal, we did the rehearsal dinner at one of the restaurants, and then we basically bar hopped all the way to the end. And as we went to each bar, we picked up more and more people because it just turned into this thing where we ended up at the bar at the end, which had a live band going on, but like 70% of the people that were in there were our wedding. So it was like a mini wedding before the wedding that everyone just got to cut loose and have like a really great time. That's what people talk about because it's the overall experience that you're creating for your friends and family, not, oh my gosh, they spent all this money on this invitation,
Yeah. What are some of the coolest traditions that you've seen people do?
Ooh, traditions. I will tell you, nobody is doing the garter and the bouquet anymore.
No, I'm not even doing that. I'm sorry, my grandfather does not need to see any of that.
No.
Where did that even come from?
I don't know. To the point that I had a wedding a couple of months ago that did it, and like every vendor came up to me and they're like, "Wait, is this a typo?" And I'm like, "Nope, they want to do it." They're all like, "Really?" I'm like, I don't know. So nobody wants to see that anymore.
No.
I did see one this year that I really kind of loved. So there's normally the ring warming during the ceremony where the rings get passed around to everyone and then they kind of like pray over them or give their blessing to the marriage and pass it on to everyone so that by the time the rings come to the bride and groom, they're filled with love and promise from their friends and family. They didn't want to go through the whole hoopla of everyone touching the rings, but they brought their parents up and then their parents got to pass them back and forth. And then they had their own little like prayer circle around the 2 of them during the ceremony. So everyone got to sort of bear witness to that, which I thought was, super beautiful. I have a bride this year that I'm really excited about because I'm sure you guys saw the trend on TikTok of the brides giving the bouquets to the moms and doing a dedication.
I'm doing that. Yes, I'm doing that. I'm so excited. Sorry.
So yes, I'm really excited for her to do that because I do think moms of the bride, even though like they're in the trenches a lot of times, I love working with moms and being the partnership with the mom there. They tend to get forgotten on the actual day of because it's, the father is walking down the aisle. The father gets to dance with the bride. The mother of the groom gets to dance with the groom. And so mom on the actual day tends to just kind of sit by the wayside. So I do kind of like that we're pushing mom sort of to the forefront again because a lot of times they're doing a lot of heavy lifting to get them to this point.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I will say one of the things that I'm super excited that Lizzie chose to do is tell Sarah who your flower girl is.
My grandmother.
I love that.
Every single time that I talk to her, she's like, Lizzie, I got my basket. It's got ribbons on it. I'm so excited. I want this for my hair. I gotta find a dress. Like, she is over the moon about it. Like, so excited because all the kids that we know are either too young, too small, don't really know what's happening, and we're not having kids at the wedding.
No,
I'm not that.
Well, your wedding's super small anyway.
Yeah,
you've got 45 people. So
yeah, I was like, I want Mama to have something where she can do it. She laughed so hard when I asked her. Oh my god, she was like, you really want me to do that? And I was like, well, yeah, you're gonna be up there. Like, I want to give you something. She's like, okay.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I actually did a wedding in Disney World.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, it was super fun. I was also like 8.5 months pregnant, but that's a story for another day. Um, but they did the same thing. She asked both of her grandmothers to walk down, and she said that they got such a kick out of it because they were like, normally I would just be sitting up in the front, but it was like it was so fun, and I got to be with you until like basically until you walked down the aisle and kind of give you that advice right before she walked down. So I love that. I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
So you said you've done a wedding at Disney. Is there a venue that you have done a wedding at? I'm sorry if that's the wrong English, but is there a location where you've done a wedding that stands out in your mind?
Or your top two if you can't decide for what.
So I will always say, and if anybody ever inquires with me ever, my favorite venue is the Chesapeake Bay Maritime Museum. I said it. I put it out in the open. I said it. To me, there is no other venue that embodies the grit of here on the shore like the Maritime Museum.
Yeah.
And the people that are attracted to getting married at the Maritime Museum love beautiful waterfront scapes, but understand the grit that it took them to get there, if that makes sense.
And they're so classy.
Yes.
There's something about that group of people.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
it's my favorite place hands down because you can make it be whatever you want it to be. You're starting with a blank slate, you're starting with a tent. And so from there, and that's what I love. Like every single one of my designs that's there is different because it's associated with the couple and what they were looking for and what they wanted the day to be. But then they're surrounded by those settings that are conversation pieces, like having the cocktail hour in the boat shed, and you're surrounded by all those boats, and you're reading about the history, and you're got the crab picking machine in the back, and all of that sort of stuff. The shed that's literally
the tool shed, like
yes.
And the people there themselves, the actual people who work there. I was setting stands up, and it was windy, shocker, on the water. So I was using rods to place the rods, go down. It's hollow, long, different day.
In the stands.
Yeah. And I was struggling. I had a very small hammer because it's a very small rod, and it just wasn't working right. And one of the staff members came over with a bigger hammer, and he's like, "I got this." And I was like, "No, I can do it." And he was like, "Look at my hammer. Look at your hammer." I was like, "Okay." They're kind, nice humans.
They truly are.
Yeah.
They truly are. So, like I said, hands down, it's my favorite place to do a wedding. And so it's just one of those, like, every time an inquiry comes in there, I'm like, "Ooh, yay."
It's funny to hear you say that because that's one of the things that we always look out when we get an inquiry. We're like, "Ooh, where's that?"
Yeah.
Because it sets the tone.
It does. It truly does. Like, I got one for Rehoboth Beach Country Club a couple of weeks ago, and I was kind of looking it over, and it looks like they've redone that, and that could be a super awesome place in the future. And I've also seen some absolutely drop dead gorgeous tented weddings there on their lawn as well. So that might be one of those ones that I was like,
The only thing I would say to you, if you're there and somebody asks you to put fabric on the arch that's next to the water, tell them no.
"Oh, does it blow away?"
Oh my God, it blew. It blew so bad. It was like a sail. And so we stayed to repurpose the florals. She was dead set on using fabric. Beautiful, right next to the water. There's all this wind.
Golf course, like
all you can hear is the fabric the entire time. That's what she wanted. It's exactly like.
Even in the pictures, it's like she wanted it draping, and the wind was blowing so hard it was billowed up, so it looked like a bra on the arch. Yeah, I'm sorry, but it was, and her arch was full, so it's not like it was like there were a lot of flowers.
It was a ton of florals.
We built it there, but we had to do the fabric first. We didn't build anything before.
And she was so set on that.
It was blowing and blowing and blowing, and I was like, maybe they'll die down. And then we got the pictures back, and it just was like, here's a bra for the art.
That's so disappointing because I bet the florals were gorgeous, but you can't use them because there's that.
And the fabric was blue.
Oh.
Yeah, it was her
Yeah.
vision. It's all
Yeah.
good. It worked and she was happy.
Yeah.
It was so if you had to pick what is your craziest story? Because I feel like we've talked about hurricanes, we've talked about storms, we've talked about thunderstorms coming in and knocking things over. Like what is one of those things that you are like, oh God, I hope I never have to do that.
I've had a lot of them.
Uh-huh.
I will say, I still think one of the very first weddings that I ever did was the best learning experience I've ever had. I think quite literally, she was my first paid wedding. And she was supposed to get married at the Baltimore Museum of Industry.
Mm.
And then
Wait,
three,
have you done one at the aquarium?
I have not done one at the
Oh, that's on my bucket list. I want an aquarium and I want a library. I want one of those big library weddings.
Isn't there only the George Peabody, or is there another one?
I know, but there's like libraries all over the place. You want one in a library? I'll go. I'll go to New York. I don't care.
Manifesting it. I love it.
Totally. So there's my call for hello, I'm a nerd. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
You're good. But yeah, so she was supposed to get married at the Baltimore Museum of Industry. And then 3 days before is when all of the riots broke out in Baltimore. And so my husband and I were actually in Nashville celebrating our anniversary. And I get a text from her that says, I don't think we can get married in Baltimore City anymore. And I was like, what? And I knew what was happening because
Yeah.
with my husband being a Baltimore City firefighter, he was getting the play-by-plays of like what's happening in the city and all that sort of stuff. So I was like, okay, I'm like, what's the plan? And so she said, we've already reached out to this other venue. I need your help when you get home to pivot and redo the entire wedding. So we did.
Oh my God.
So we literally picked up this entire wedding and logistically and all of the vendors, all of the guests, all of that stuff, pivoted it to a different location that was thankfully still available. And then because it was the riots are included in the force majeure, she was able to get out of the contract with the Baltimore Museum of Industry, get her money back, and be able to pull the insurance for any monies that were non-refundable from the museum to be able to use it towards the new deposit on the new venue.
Mm.
So it ended up all working out. And it's funny now, but like she stayed up the night before and on all of her programs, because she had put in all this stuff about Baltimore in there, she literally hand wrote on the bottom of all of them, some items are no longer applicable.
Oh my God.
Wow.
See, this is why you are the amazing, incredible Sarah.
I think
That's what we're going to title the episode.
Well, I think it was really good practice for COVID, honestly.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff that we needed to learn to get through COVID and learn how to read contracts and understand what the force majeure clause actually gets you as far as coverage is concerned and all of that kind of good stuff. So yeah, I would say that was probably my craziest wedding. I've had a few like little stories here and there, but
I feel like a lot of it's usually around weather. Like for us at least. It's always that last minute, like, okay, there's a break in the potential for storm. Go. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, I had a wedding like that. When was it? Savannah was born in 2021. So it was a 2021 wedding, and they were getting married outside at their house. And it was a Jewish wedding. So we had this beautiful huppah all set up, and we were about 3/4 of the way done. And I kept looking at the radar, and I was like, I can't in good faith keep this out here anymore. I was like, I am so sorry. I'm like, we need to pick this huppah up and we need to move it inside the tent, and we need to rework the tent and like make this happen. Florist didn't love me, but she understood why I was making that call. I had gone back and forth in the house like 3 times. I'm like, this is the call we have to make. Like, look at the radar. There, like, this is a line of red storms that are coming through. Like, we have no choice. And they kept trying to like see how long they could wait it out, sort of thing. And then we had it all set up in the tent. We were rearranging everything to make the ceremony like on the dance floor. And then somebody came out and was like, the bride is really not happy. She doesn't care if people get rained on. We need to move it back outside. I was like, okay. So we picked it up. Thank God there were so many people there from the catering staff.
Yeah.
And we moved it back out to where it was. Well, the problem was at that point, the integrity of the chuppah had been degraded from so much movement. So it wouldn't stay up on its own. So then we had to have four guys. Now, in traditional Jewish sense, that actually is what happens. They do hold up the poles of the chuppah. So it wasn't like weird that they were up there, if that makes sense. But yeah, I literally had these like four of their college friends. I was like, hey, so I need you to stay here for like the next like 30 to 40 minutes, then actually during the ceremony as well, and hold this thing up. And they just stared at me. And I was like, I'm being serious.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
The weirdest thing about it though was literally it was red until 3 minutes before I was about to send her down the aisle. And I told her, I was like, people are going to get rained on. She's like, I don't care. I said, okay, as long as you're okay with this decision. The entire line completely evaporated and it never rained the entire day.
Wow.
I'll be honest.
Well, where
I was
was
pissed.
the wedding?
It was up in like the Baltimore area.
Wow.
I wonder if the Bay broke it up or something.
I was,
That's
yeah.
crazy.
That's
I
usually
mean, I was
what-
obviously thankful, but then I was like, I just dealt with 4 hours of stress. You didn't even do anything with her. I was like, are you kidding me?
not even a spit.
You can't make this up.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
You're like, career change. I want to be a weather forecaster because I can screw it all up and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yes. There's
Oh.
there's definitely been a bunch more stories that are like that where you're just like, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be a duck.
Yeah.
Oh my God. This was awesome.
Yes.
Absolutely awesome.
It
Thank
was.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for taking time away from your family to sit and chat with us. Thank you for sharing the background of your adorable little people that are behind you.
Thank you. They're adorable right now because they're asleep.
Oh, that makes them even cuter, right?
Yes.
Thank you for always being that person that I can call when I'm like, dude, I have this question and I need to talk to somebody and I don't know who to ask. You are my person that I'm always like, listen, I'm going to sound like an idiot, but I'm just going to ask. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I will always be that person. I don't mind because I'm sure I probably will have some other random weird questions. So
I'm for it. Bring it.
Yeah.
I appreciate the fact that we can have sidebar conversations because I think you know what bride I'm talking about, where it was like, okay, we need to have a unified front before we talk to her.
100%. 100%. Well, and that comes from having the relationship. You know, yeah. And being a normal human.
What? That's so
Yeah.
weird.
Whatever that
Never
is.
heard of that.
So, the amazing, incredible Sarah Reynolds. Thank you. Yeah. It was a duck.
Uh-huh.
Hey guys, just dropping a line to tell you about Patreon.
So I asked them, meaning Mom and Amber, what is Patreon anyway? Because I honestly had no idea. So we're going to explain it to you from our perspective so that you understand and so that I understand.
Because the first time I saw it, I was like, Patron, we're drinking tequila? Great. So Patreon is for less than a cup of coffee, those fancy coffees that y'all like, a day, you can sign up to become one of our members.
A little family.
Exactly. And what does that get us?
It gets us some freebies, some special episodes that other people do not get access to. You can interact with us on a special platform where we can ask you questions and interact with you. It's tons of fun.
Mm-hmm. And even on those special episodes, we might be less censored than we are already. And we're going to have a couple fun ones that we can just kind of throw in there and talk about and laugh and go on tangents and have fun. So I hope that you all enjoy it because we're going to have fun along the way. We're crazy excited.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Back to the episode now. Bye.
Gracias.